Just answering questions with web check, trying not to go off on a tangent. Here we go. How do you manage the high stress levels associated with your living situation? Is hyper-arousal an adequate term? Is being a loner safer than hoping you found a trustworthy friend? I apologize if these are too personal. My living situation has nothing to do with most of these questions, but let's cover them anyway. They're not personal questions. They're basic questions you should ask a person, even yourself. Being a loner versus having trustworthy friends is not a mutually exclusive thing. You can be a loner and have friends. I have lots of friends. And I have lots of friends, everything's fine. No, I really do. I've always been able to make friends easily. But not having a place to live is just not having a place to live. It has nothing to do with anything else. It can cause it sometimes, but it's not really. Hyper-arousal, an adequate term. That word, that actual expression, I call it an expression, not a word, gets me used a lot that I don't know what you mean by it. I mean, you could mean it for one reason or another. Hyper-vigilance is a problem among homeless people. They become... It's almost shell-shock-ish. You start getting really paranoid about things. I don't know if anybody's seeing that in my videos because I don't have anybody tell me that that's happening. If you see that happening, I suppose they should be told about it. But the fact is, I'm reacting to people doing crap usually. The microphone channels it a little bit here. That's the reason I'm using it. If you could hear what I hear, there's crap going on most of the time. Someone asked me, why do you do the videos outside instead of inside? So I don't get a copyright strike, because every place inside, unless it's your own home where you have control over it, will have music playing. That's all. If they'd stop playing music, I'd do all my videos inside the coffee shop. How do you manage high stress levels? I avoid stress. I do what I can to be not put upon or put upon anything else. That's why when an acute occurrence happens, it's usually a person passing by me who's basically spoiling for a fight or is being proactively antagonistic. Let's call it that. They're being belligerent. What's next? Criticism of the Attorney General's criticism by the Special Counsel criticismception. First one. This is one I'm going to respond to that's a positive assertion about me. Actually, it's a positive response, although he's saying one thing is another. All Attorney Generals are handpicked by presidents. I know that. It's the purpose he was picked for I kind of wonder about. But then, you do have a point. He's beholden to the president, so you got a good point. Everyone knows this. It triggers idiot viewers, so it's a type of half-truth. And it's unfortunate, and I see what you did there. Okay, you know what? I gave in. Let's just say that that video is literally wrong. Even the Mueller letter is holding back a bit because of what you're saying here. It's actually true. So, I'm going to give you one on this. All Americans should be considered innocent until proven guilty, including the president. Now, I'm going to insert my comment to him. I want everyone to sit here for a minute and let's all eat crow and regurgitate. This started originally with investigating Hillary and then went on to investigating Donald Trump. Would we have all been better off if nobody wanted either person investigated? Now, actually say that to yourself. I'm absolutely sure that we would have been better off. It would have been a straight election, and it wouldn't have been weaponizing the legal system to do this. You know, cigars and Clintons aside, would we have been better off if this never happened? Can we learn from that? This was a line that was crossed by both sides, literally. No Trump joke here. And yeah, I was in favor of investigating Hillary originally. Okay, I admit it, because I don't like her. But honestly, this shenanigans has ruined things. And I have said before, and I'll say again, Trump's the president. this is probably just a damned waste of time. Was anything substantive brought up to exclude Hillary? Is there can you actually succeed in doing anything about the presidency? No. So, you're right. I took the CNN purple pill, and I'm sorry. I admit it. This was a stupid thing to do. This is all just machinations and shit. Once the person's elected, unless you have a really good reason to actually succeed in removing them from position, all you're doing is trying to weaken the presidency. I'm going to decide to say that going after Trump at this point, just like Hillary, all sides, is the birtherism. It's the same shit. I'm starting to decide that because it shouldn't depend on who it's aimed at, should it? I think we're all just kind of, at least most of us, are guilty of this. So yeah, thank you. Keep me on track. Keep me from making an ass of myself. That's everybody's job, is to keep us all from making asses of ourselves, because we depend on each other. No conspiracy, no obstruction. Then he put in double asterisks. I'm very sure there's obstruction and interference, but does it really qualify as something real? Unless otherwise proven, no. So yeah, let's stick with the same standard. Judge Trump and Hillary the way we would choose to be judged, not drudged. Wow, I almost made a joke there. Let's do that. That would actually, that should be the acid test. Would you want to be judged this way? Would this be something you would consider the best way to do it? If the answer is no, then you shouldn't do it. Unless we play act that you can be exonerated without being considered guilty first, we are all guilty until proven innocent. Which is exactly what Bob kind of sort of says, but hey, he ain't the one making judgments. That's what the DOJ is for. Now, fact is, we're all going to make it through whatever it is that's going to happen, like we always do. And this is America. We have the luxury of having a boringly reliable society. That's what they thought about Rome, but, you know. Next person, on the same video. Let's get one thing clear. I never voted for Trump and won't in the future. I subscribe to your channel and others so I can get other people's views on situations. I'm not a fan of the president, but at least I can tell when the evidence proves the facts of the case. Now, I'm not sure where this person's going, but I'm just going to read it. If you're so biased that you can't separate truth from fiction in this 2-year investigation, then there is a reason you're homeless. No, that's not what caused the homelessness. But that's the only critique I have here. That's a cheap shot. It's an easy shot. It's a good assumption. If a person has an inability to evaluate what you think is obvious, oh, wait a minute, what about all the professionals out there that are complete dumbasses that have a place to live? Having a place to live, or even keeping a job, or running a business like I've done, all of the above, doesn't require that you have any common sense. I've learned that from observing other people. There are some monumentally stupid people out there who are terrifyingly successful. You've been debunked. I'm sorry. Sorry to be blunt, but if you believe the narrative of the last couple of years, which one? Not being specific. Then I gave you more credit than you deserve. If you're biased to a situation, don't embarrass yourself by exposing your bias. But you didn't complete your sentence. Okay. I do appreciate these critiques. They are actually quite useful. Another person said, why are you evaluating airplanes? Are you an aircraft engineer? No. I help design robots. I know how to build a robot. Airplanes being fly-by-wired, where it can overrule the pilot, which is what happened on several flights, is an example of a robot not being a cooperative or collaborative robot. which is the term I found out about a couple of years, well, actually a couple of months ago, really, but I heard about it years ago. I got it confirmed. Are robots that cooperate with a human and assist them rather than being able to just have to be turned on and off or manually controlled. These are usually AI-based things. Simple feedback loops, like an airplane uses, shouldn't need to be overridden, but they do. But someone, basically, do you have a bias on this? Yeah, my bias is I don't trust robots because I know I don't have a reason to. It's not just a joke from the movie, Space Odyssey. 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's not just HAL. I don't trust robots because I've seen them they don't have any common sense. And one of the things about common sense is that you don't use a minority report to take action. A minority of sensors says you're in a stall, you don't adjust for a stall. You alert the pilot of it. There was one plane flight, I have I'll have a video link at the bottom here, I think, where a minority, only a little bit of a minority, but a minority of the sensors said that the plane was going into a stall. Same damn situation. And it ignored the pilot demanding that it be pulled back. When the computer sees the human being overriding it, it's implicit that if you're yanking back on the yoke all the way down to your balls, that it should do what you told it to do and start putting things back the way it was and assume it's wrong. I should be as good as a robot that I want to have on an airplane. When it's really obvious I'm being told, no, you did something wrong, back off, I should. Instead of doubling down or continuing to repeat a lie, which is what I complain about humans doing. And you don't have to be a robotics expert to know that. That's implicit and explicit in many fields, including science, engineering, design, robotics, and airplanes. If you pull back on the stick and the airlines don't move, it's not your fault that you didn't overwrite the disconnect cable thing. And in the case of fly-by-wire or not, it should have told the pilots in this other video that there was an error so they could override things. In some cases, the pilots did override everything and it still didn't work because the computer override failed. But should it be all or nothing? Should we completely get rid of it? Having airplanes automatically compensate very rapidly for stall conditions that suddenly happen because of crosswinds and inversion layers, which used to be a big deal, has actually saved more lives than we've lost. It is a devil's bargain, but we have lost fewer lives. That's why when there is a crash or an incident, it's so much more of a shock, because they just don't happen as often. Flying airplanes has become incredibly safe comparatively, but we're in the air more. And yes, automated cars would probably be safer in the long run. There would be fewer incidents. You could literally get in a car drunk and have the car drive you home. It would just go in grandma speed and go into ultra safe mode, but it would get you home. And you wouldn't be able to kill anybody, most likely. But then again, we don't know that. I mean, the computer can respond in 1 microsecond. The car can't. If you're going at 55 and you're robotically driven, and somebody on a bicycle runs across the street right in your field of view, if you're not aware of it, this happened with a robot cart, at exactly the angle that make it to where the thing can't figure out where you're going. It couldn't figure out where the person was running, and they ended up getting hit by the car because they ran across the road without looking. They took a chance and failed. And I've watched that video way too many times. I don't think anybody driving a car could have stopped from hitting them. Maybe some automation's good, but we still need to be able to override it. And it needs to be implicit in an organic, user intuitive way. Not necessarily friendly, just intuitive. A big off button might be useful, but more importantly, the computer should take orders from the human at all times. That's my obsession when it comes to computers. If the computer disobeys me, I don't want to be held responsible for what the computer does. Some virus gets on your computer and starts downloading something illegal, you shouldn't go to jail for it. The asshole who wrote the virus should. Anyway, thanks for the corrections, and I do appreciate it. A little bit of crow's good.